performance, which means incredible entertainment for both the viewers and us at Commentary Box. 0 to 60 in under 2.5 seconds and 75% battery recharge in 15 minutes means it is pushing the boundaries of available technology and advancing electrification even further. The best part? The driver's cell can be used outside of the car as a sim rig, giving drivers the opportunity to test in the virtual world in the same environment that they'll use real one. We will be watching with excitement as we welcome you to the Service Experts eRoval series. With Cody Erdmann, I am Josh Mertz, live from the Daytona International Speedway on the Automotive Sports Network, as our coverage and series are brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. For more information, visit serviceexperts.com. Cody, for the first time, we have an electric series here on ASN. It's not NASA Rallycross, and I noticed that you tested the car with Sequential SimSport earlier in the week. How are you? How's this car? And what are you thinking about tonight's 17 cars?
Yeah, glad to be back up here in the booth with you. And it was definitely a lot more different than I was expecting. One, I didn't realize this car was all-wheel drive, so having to wait on the power on the exit of the corners, this way you're not lifting the front tires and it's just plowing. Other than that, it's got a lot of downforce and a lot of grip. It doesn't brake as good as I thought it was gonna, honestly. I thought it would be kind of more like an F1 car when it came to the brakes, but it's more like a stock car where it does not want to stop. So, should be an entertaining race. We'll see how these guys manage it through the sprint race and the feature tonight, and see who improves for a 10-race season.
So we are rolling through qualifying, just over 11 minutes to go. Open qualifying sessions. Everybody here will take some time, try and get a good qualifying lap, as we're going to have a 15-minute sprint race and then a 35-minute feature. But you're asking, what is our schedule? Well, we start out here in Daytona Beach at the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway, using the famous road course layout. Next week, we go to New Hampshire, then it's on to Pocono, Iowa, Homestead, Rockingham, Indianapolis, Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, Atlanta, and Charlotte. And there's a couple different layouts. New Hampshire is going to be running that north layout. Homestead's running the layout numbered B, or lettered B, I guess you could say. And the Charlotte Roval, which we've seen so many times before in NASCAR, crazy racing happen on that layout. As there's some interesting things about this car, Cody, and I'm looking at this wonderful book that we have. So these guys in qualifying power mode is on, and they're 10 seconds quicker a lap. That's nuts.
Yeah, a lot. You could see in practice, some guys, I think, were practicing qualifying times, and they were in about the minute 38 range, and everyone else was running about 148, 149. So yeah, I do agree with them. It's about a 10-second gap between qualifying mode and race mode.
As we will have the 15-minute sprint race. No worries about charging during this race. You just got to worry about tire temperature and not burning those tires down. If you spin, it'll be easier to spin after that because you're going to cook those tires. 35-minute feature, we're going to have about 18 laps from what looks like was calculated, and you can only go 25 minutes on the battery. So we're going to see, depending on who you are, it would be awkward or hilarious. It's going to be like a 4-minute wait for these guys to get these cars charged up just for the last little bit of racing. So I told myself that I wasn't going to make any NASA strategy references. Gone out the window before even we get to the sprint race. But it's basically your Joker. When are you going to take it? How long? How easy are you going to run? There's so many different variables.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too as we've been kind of watching practice and everything. You almost want to use it at like the right time. Do you want to use it like right away at the beginning of your pit window so you're not in traffic? Or do you want to use it at the end? I think it all matters on like where you're at on track. If you're in a bunch of like traffic, or if you're in a group that's going and it's not really holding each other up. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing that we see throughout this 10 race season is that who figures out the strategy the best with this car, because this is a complete open slate for everyone. Nobody knows what's going to be the right move here.
I was speaking to Dylan Thomas a couple days ago because there was a test race for this series, brand new series. So we're glad that they chose the Automotive Sports Network for the coverage, and we were here. Bryan Sawyer, Bryan Thomas. You have a new name now. We're sitting here and we're wondering who's going to pit when, and Dylan said, "I'm going to pit early on." That's going to be interesting. So you're going to pit early on and carve through the field. I wouldn't want to do that. I would go to the end of my battery and then go from there. It takes 1 minute for each lap that you're trying to charge, so we'll have to see that unfold later on. Point system here in the eRoval series. The first 4 get points where they qualify. So pole position gets 4, down to 1 for 4th. Then we'll look at the sprint race. You get 10 points to win the sprint race, down to 1 for finishing in 10th. And then the feature, first place, 33 points, down to 20th. You get 1 point in the fastest lap. You get 1 point as well, and you get a drop week. And had some controversy on the NASA side with people wanting a drop week, and I really didn't understand the purpose of a drop week until I realized that's probably why the car count falls off. So super excited to have this series here, and to reiterate why they are going to be pitting to recharge the car. Fully electric car is the Porsche Mission R, and you can't make it all 35 minutes here at Daytona.
And it's unlike the other electric series we see in real life, Formula E, they don't have another car just to jump in, so they got to sit there and charge it. Thankfully, they charge quickly.
As what's interesting about Formula E, actually, is they don't switch cars anymore. They do last the whole session. So
okay.
They were able to do that a couple seasons ago. Broderick Johnson so far in qualifying, 1 minute 38.654, 0.3 up on Jordan Pritchard. And then very close, 0.03 back is Michael McCoy from Pritchard. And then it is 0.8 back to Stephen Thompson in the 24. And there's some decent field spread here. And I don't know if we could really take these times into account, given the fact of how these cars are. I mean, I'll honestly, in my opinion, have to wait until we start the sprint race to truly see what's going on.
Well, and I think it's going to be kind of who can drive it fast and who has the right way of managing their stuff the best. So you're going to have some comers and goers where you're going to see the fast guys that really push the car in that sprint race, that know the limits of the car, but then you'll have the other drivers in the feature that'll take their time and play the strategy the best. So we'll see who's the best strategist and who's just the best overall driver in these E-Porsches.
17 cars here as we welcome you back to the Daytona International Speedway for the Service Experts eRoval series. Had some technical issues. Hopefully we'll come back in the next couple minutes with, or the next couple seconds with some video. But if we don't, Josh Mertz, Cody Erdmann, Bryan Sawyer, the production truck, as we get ready for our sprint race. Broderick Johnson, Michael McCoy, Jordan Pritchard, Ian Lane, Riley Dowley on the top 5.
Have fun.
As we're trying to bring back everything here.
Shows the qualifying setup still in.
As we get ready in Daytona. 15 minutes. Remember, we don't have to charge for these cars during this race. We will have to charge during the feature, so that's going to be interesting to see. As once again, welcome back on ASN Live.
Also, we got standing starts in this, not rolling, so it'll be an interesting. We'll get to see the power of these cars get up and go right away.
And it's on the banking too, which is also going to be an interesting thing to see. As hopefully we'll have our feed popping back up here. And it looks like we are back because I unmuted it and I hear myself talking. So I don't know if we'll have graphics. Green flag for the first sprint race here in Daytona Beach. Johnson gets a great jump off the line compared to McCoy and Pritchard in the back of the field. There's a couple cars slow. Down to turn number 1. Pritchard on the inside of McCoy. Very tricky. You know how tricky it is, Cody, on the start of a road race like this. McCoy side by side with Ian Lane. Lane hits the wall through the chicane. Side by side. Very calm. To the inside goes, looks like it's Nicholas Asdiro. To the inside of Stephen Thompson through the horseshoe. 2x2 throughout. Out and away from the rest of the field, at least I thought, was Broderick Johnson. He's 3/4 of a second up on Jordan Pritchard. We are single file for now, as that was a duel in qualifying to see who will come out with the pole position. Johnson took it. He was fighting with McCoy and Pritchard. And now I think these top three, like we mentioned in the opener, they might be the class of the field, potentially, but we have no clue until we get rolling.
Yeah, as everyone's kind of strung out, a couple cars trying to pass each other more farther back in the pack at the moment. But one thing I noticed too, a lot of people are trying to understand how these brakes are in a pack in the cold, because a couple people were dive bombing in. I don't think they meant to, so see how they.
Couple cars, one car flying on the inside in the back of the shot. It's Kenneth Nickel. He was behind. That was Marcus Osborne, and Nickel misses the bus stop. One car around in the bus stop. It's even Evan Jungworth in the 64. One car around as well. It's Dylan Thomas in the 00. So you were just talking about the brakes being an issue potentially. These guys not knowing. Back up front, Ian Lane on the outside of Michael McCoy. That's for the third spot. As we end the first lap of the eRoval Series, Broderick Johnson leads by 0.2 over Jordan Pritchard. Pritchard deep on the brakes in turn one. Side by side, McCoy with Lane. And Pritchard already hounding the back of the 82 car here.
Yeah, as we were wondering too, and it seems like these cars punch a pretty big hole in the air, so the draft is a very key thing. So it's going to be almost like how the MX-5s are around here, where the draft is a huge key to kind of break away from everyone else, and just if you can make it a two-car battle when it comes at the end, that's going to be really crucial.
That's also not saying that it's not the cars that do that, but I think it's the circuit as well, because coming through the bus stop, through 3 and 4 of the oval, down to the tri-oval, I lost a prototype in GT Challenge race. Yes, it was 10 years ago, but I lost a race because the guy was on my rear wing through the entire back half of the oval, passed me at the start-finish line. So it's just the nature of this track. We'll have to wait and see through this sprint race and the feature, of course, later on. As even exiting turn 2 of the oval, Pritchard with a huge run, 4 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour faster, down to the bus stop as we ride on the helmet cam of car number 9 through the bus stop, much cleaner than Johnson as we take a look at the gap live here. And Cody, this is exactly what we were talking about. He's going to get the slipstream, peek to the outside maybe. You got 10 minutes left. You get a couple bonus points if you win compared to finishing second. And although under the yellow line, Johnson's going to let him by, or is he pitting?
Did he accidentally forget to turn the power mode off?
This is huge because he was the man who qualified on pole position. One of the 3 guys that was within the same second bracket. It was 138s for Johnson, McCoy, and Pritchard. And Lane, I apologize there. So 4 guys within that same timing bracket. And he exits the pit lane. He only stopped for a second. I don't know what's going on here. We'll try and get some info, hopefully.
Yeah.
James Watson in the back of the field pits as well. As Pritchard, McCoy, Lane, the top 3. Lane wide almost, or on entry there. So now this changes this whole race because Jordan Pritchard, we just talked about him, Cody, could sit back in the slipstream, cruise, save energy. Now he is at the front of the train.
Yeah, now this would be crucial once we get to the feature, because at the time he was sitting in a good spot to save his stuff and be able just to lift and not use up all the power. But now that he's out front, he'd be using up a lot more power. So it would be kind of killing his strategy. So we'll have to keep that in mind for the feature.
As you were talking, I peeked on the internal feed. Bob Poplet was off the road in the 69. He ran the right rear onto the dirt, locked it up, and pushed it wide in that car. So Pritchard leads over McCoy and Ian Lane. Top 3 about a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds, ahead of Riley Downey in car number 1. And then it's a train from him on back. So now we'll take a look at McCoy on the rear wing of Pritchard down to turn 1.
See if he makes a move, just peeking to the outside. Thinking about the crossover. As Pritchard gets loose.
And the leader's having issues. Will he merge in front of traffic? No.
He plays it smart. Although now he gets stuck in the grass, so now he's going to back it up, get back going. So 2 leaders. This is just like the Bristol race last night. You don't want to be the leader.
Nobody wants to lead. He locked it up, got on the power. It was weird. It just swapped from under him, it looked like.
Oh, that's pathetic.
So I did run a couple laps here earlier in practice. So just unloaded the sequential SimSport E portion. I had that happen to me. If you overshoot the car, it's just this weird, like, the back end steps out. And you think with all-wheel drive that you can kind of gas it up to let the front tires kind of pull you back straight. But it keeps washing out, and then you just lose the back end. It's one thing that these drivers, I think, are still learning with this car, of kind of where the slip angle is, where too far, if you yaw it out too far, you're going around.
As we are on board, Paul Crone in the 38 to the outside of Nicholas Isidro. Apologies there. On the outside, the 38 versus the 424 down to the bus stop. So tricky to get this right. Late of the late breakers into the bus stop. Still side by side. Through the first phase, through the second phase. Pinches him to the curb. Contact. And Isidro into the grass in the 424. And unfortunately, that's something that you have to do to get a pass done. But it's typically done in the bus stop. This puts Stephen Thompson right on the rear wing of Crone in the 38. So we'll see here, Cody, if he'll make a move to the outside. Coming to about 5 minutes to go in the sprint race. Crone outside for a wide entry, deep on the brakes, and Thompson thinks better of it.
He does kind of let it roll back up to him, but still not enough. Now Crone's going to start walking away. Let's see if these two can drag them up to Riley, who's sitting in P3 right now.
So let's get a reset of our running order here in the Service Experts eRoval series. Michael McCoy leads in car number 33, ahead of Ian Lane in car number 98. Riley Downey in car number 1 sits in 3rd. Paul Crone, Stephen Thompson, your top 5. Zachary Nurnberger in the 32 sits in 6th. Then it's Bob Poplett, who drove into the tire wall, exiting the road course, and didn't lose that much time compared to a couple of our leaders that had some issues, but we'll get there in a minute. Nicholas Isidro in the 424. Jeff Destino in car number 46. Marcus Osborne in car number 7. And looks like he's in 10th. Our timing hasn't updated on my end, at least. Jordan Pritchard, car number 9, was leading, spun it in turn number 1, and he looks like he's going to get by Martin Mathis in car number 14. The biggest story here, what's very interesting, is Broderick Johnson in the 82, pitted for whatever reason. We're still trying to figure that out. He is almost on the rear wing of Pritchard as we're battling down the back straightaway for the lower end positions of the top 10. Osborne trying to let him by, but he gets in the way of Pritchard. He lets Mathis by. Mathis goes wide in the 14, back out onto the track in front of Johnson. No issues. Almost a big issue there, though.
Almost what happened to sequential in, I think, at Daytona 24, where we unfortunately hit the wall there. So had kind of flashbacks there for a moment. Is now we got Osborne still on the rear wing of Pritchard, and see if he'll make a move going down into turn 1. He's got the slipstream. Got a little bit of a run. Let's see if he can be able to dive it in deeper. Yeah. Swings it out wide.
Car length and a half on entry.
I think.
Will he take the fight? No. Wait, that's a tricky turn 1, because if you get, I don't think there's an elevation change between to the left of the paint, to the right of the paint, but you get way out wide, you're going to lose grip because there's obviously no rubber down there. Back up front relatively quickly, Michael McCoy and Ian Lane. It's a second difference between those two at the front of the field. Last lap was of 1 minute 47.713 for McCoy, 1 minute 47.007 for Lane. 7/10 up. Gap is 1.2 as we are just past 3 minutes to go here in Daytona.
There's a really good battle for, I think, P6 right now between Poplet, Nürnberger, and Isidro. Them three are all nose to tail. And on my timing and scoring at the moment, looks like Poplet got around Nürnberger. So, see if Nürnberger can.
Deep on the brakes. Whew. Gained a lot of time, but the problem is you're so deep on the brakes, you're going to be late to the throttle exiting. And it's almost a requirement to be early on the brakes in the bus stop because you can lose so much more time being late on the throttle exiting the bus stop through 3 and 4.
Yeah, there's almost a fine line of being too early, so then you're giving up so much time going in, but also...
Nürnberger to the outside, looks past the start-finish line, down to turn 1. This is for 6th. Here comes Isidro as well. Contact nearly, it looked like, on the entrance to the corner. Poplet faded out to the right. Spooked Nürnberger a little bit, and now Isidro in the 424 sneaking into the picture. Down to the International Horseshoe. Isidro to the inside, thought better of it.
Yeah, these three are running really well together. Just nice and clean. Light contact, but that's just racing here. Especially in the one, you see that a lot in like the Daytona 24. People kind of swinging out, getting a little door tap. Isidro, massive run.
Huge run.
One. Nope, he just gets one.
Maybe not even get one. Nürnberger's going to have the run on the outside. Preferred line through, exiting the road course. Will he be late on the brakes? This is for 7th. Side by side, exiting the road course. Nürnberger back to the position, but he couldn't get the drive off. And Isidro, I think this is going to be a battle all the way to the bus stop because Nürnberger's going to have that slipstream. I would let off the gas and get in the slipstream, but he's got better ideas. He's pulled to side by side with Isidro through 1 and 2 of the oval.
Now he's got the preferred line going into the bus stop. But let's see if Isidro battles him or tucks in line.
We're not missing anything up front. Side by side still for these two through the bus stop. And Nürnberger takes the spot, put him to 7th. As our race leader, Michael McCoy, pulled a gap, a 1.5 seconds over Ian Lane in car number 98.
Looking at the lap times, 47.7 to a 47.8 that time. The lap before, though, McCoy pulled out a second, so that's where the gap was. Something must have happened on the last lap. Riley's been running a 48.4. And Crone is catching up to Riley here because he ran a 47.5, so he seems almost to be the fastest car on track right now. As
a reminder, our series and coverage brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage Program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. For more information, serviceexperts.com. We thank them for covering the series, or supporting the series and our broadcast here on the Automotive Sports Network. Cody Erdmann, Josh Mertz in the commentary box, Bryan Sawyer in the production truck. As we had some issues earlier on, and hopefully we got those ironed out. Hashtag ASNTVUSA to join the conversation, and be sure to join ASN On Demand on YouTube to catch everything after the fact. Some programming notes. Tomorrow, the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge live from... I forgot what track we're at, but we'll figure it out in a minute. We're going to be live 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ASN Twitch. I'm really good at what I do. I forget what tracks we're at.
Hey, guess what? You'll be right here.
Oh, I don't go far.
No, okay. You don't.
That's good. So we're going to be at Daytona again. One car around. It's Ian Lane from 2nd. While we were having our programming note, Lane has spun in the bus stop from 2nd. Deep on the brakes, clipped the grass, and it just over-rotated. That's a weird one. Let's see if we're taking a look here. Yeah, that's happened too many times to me, and I don't really know what causes that, Cody. It's almost like the car just loads up and just has a lazy spin.
I think it's also, there's a little bit of bumps there. When you throw it left to right, it almost upsets the car too much if you throw it too hard. So the weight transfers. Oh, as Ian goes around again.
As we have taken the white flag, it looks like, here in Daytona. As, like I mentioned, the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge from Daytona Beach. They're going to be driving on these same bits of track that we're driving on right now. You'll join myself and hopefully Philip Kraus, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ASN Twitch for that. It's been a crazy last couple of days. I don't even know what planet I'm on at this point. McCoy is 5 seconds ahead of Downey. It looked like Downey was catching him. We're on the white flag lap here. Stephen Thompson sits in third. And you said that I don't even see our third place man anymore. I think he parked it. No, he didn't. He is in fifth.
Yeah, because he spun it again and won. I think the tires got too hot, and it just came out from underneath him.
Through the bus stop for the final time, Michael McCoy will round 3 and 4. Still a long way to go before you get to the start-finish line. He's got a 5-second gap over his nearest competitor, and the sprint race that had a couple of issues with a couple of the guys that we thought would be up front through qualifying, not to be. Michael McCoy will be the first sprint race winner in the Service Experts eRoval Series, winning in Daytona Beach, and he will be pole position for the feature in just a few minutes. Riley Downey puts himself in the second spot. Stephen Thompson will come home in third, it looks like. Bob Poplet goes to fourth after having an issue exiting the road course. Isidro in fifth. Ian Lane will come home in seventh, as apparently Nürnberger finished, but I didn't see him on my screen there. Jeff Destino, Broderick Johnson rallies back to the ninth spot. 10th, it looks like, will be Pritchard, as Crone fell out of the server right at the worst possible time.
Yeah, he was going to be like P3.
Dylan Thomas in 11th. 12th will be Osborne. 13th will be Martin Mathis once he crosses the line. As we're just finishing up, as Evan Youngworth in the 64 will cross the line. P14, P15 for Kenneth Nickel, and P16 for NASA's own James Watson. And he's the only car that we can make fun of tonight, because he knows that I'm joking. And true NASA fashion, true James Watson fashion, last. I love it. So,
he's just about to come across the line right now.
We got 5 minutes in a warm-up session, and that was an interesting race. You had the fast guys, whether they had to pit or they spun or had issues, that was all over the place. You really couldn't predict anything there. I mean, what do you think? Was there an overarching cause, or everyone having their own issues, or what do you think?
Well, I think a couple of them look like just kind of learning the boundaries of this car, of how hard is too hard to throw it into a corner, or what they can and can't do with it yet. I think the tires are a little bit different than the GT3 cars that a lot of us are used to. So I think that people are learning. Also with this being a GT car, but also all-wheel drive, that throws a big wrench into things. So, and also another thing, it's only got one gear. You're not downshifting, so that's also kind of weird. Weird to be braking and not have to downshift into a corner. It did take me a couple moments of like, oh yeah, I don't have to do this. So, I think that was another thing of people, who knows, they may be like reaching for a gear or something, and oh yeah, I don't have one. So, I think there's some things in this car that people are still getting used to that we'll see, I think over time through the series, that they'll get used to, or like the bugs will get worked out of it, and it'll be kind of smoother.
As in 1 week, we will be in New Hampshire, in Loudon, for round 2 of the Service Experts eRoval Series. You'll have myself, Cody Erdmann, Bryan Sawyer, bringing you that coverage. We'll be live, say right about 9 p.m. Eastern Time here on ASN Live.
As we are riding on board at the moment with Ian Lane, I believe. That's also another thing. Instead of a dash, your dash is your dash is on the steering wheel, and then the dash is actually your review camera.
That'd be weird. I don't know, because like if you're driving, and you're turning, you obviously can't check your mirror. I have a bad habit of checking my mirror at any point, whether I'm turning or going straight. And this I was wondering if they were shifting, because I think Formula E maybe has like 1 or 2 gears in air quotes. I don't even know if electric cars would have gears. But I use a lot in a regular race car. I use the gears a lot for engine braking, and that I didn't want to interrupt you, but that would be something that I would do, is going into the corner so hard on the brakes, expecting to have the engine ability to engine brake and slow you down. Nope, just kidding. You don't have that.
Yeah, that was one thing. Also, another little odd, I don't know if it's a new iRacing thing or it's just this car. When you get to the pit lane exit, the pit limiter automatically turns off for you. You don't even have to hit the button.
Huh. Is the pit lane entry... Is the
I don't know
exit
about
considered...
the entry, but I know the exit, when you get
the
out
exit
to the
is... So, I noticed that the exit is not the exit of the pit lane. It's around the corner.
Yes, that's how it is for the Daytona 24.
And Isidro just pitted off monitor there. I'm trying to see if the limiter automatically turned on. I don't know if we'll be allowed to have that info or not. I'm trying to see from his cockpit. It doesn't tell me whether or not, so...
Yeah, I'm not sure if it does when you're on entry, but at least I know, like, when you fire up the car to leave, like, and you can... Once it's on, like, when you get to the end of the pit lane, right at the pit lane exit, the blue cone, it automatically turns off for you. I'm like, that's new. So that may be something with this car, that it has a sensor in it that, oh, okay, exit a pit lane. Time to go, wide open.
As, interestingly, nobody has set a lap time yet. We'll just have to wait and see when someone sets a lap time. But remember what we talked about in the Open. So this race is roughly going to be 18 laps, 35 minutes. And you can only go 25 minutes on battery, and it depends on how hard you drive. So like we had mentioned, you can pit between lap 4 and 14 and charge until the sim tells you that you can make it to 18 laps, but the charge is going to take a long time if you push your car.
Yeah, so we're going to see... Also, whoever pits early, hopefully they calculated it right. That's another thing. Not that they accidentally didn't charge enough and really have to start battery saving, or if we get to the white flag and they run out of power. So it's definitely going to be... we're going to find out here. As I think, as just with us, nobody has an idea. Even I don't think some of these guys have an idea what they want to do. Let's see how well they can do it.
So grid for the first round of the Service Experts eRoval Series here at Daytona Beach. Michael McCoy on pole position, Riley Downey in second, Stephen Thompson, Bob Poplett, Nicholas Isidro, Zachary Nurnberger, Ian Lane, Jeff Destino, Broderick Johnson, Jordan Pritchard. That's your top 10. Dylan Thomas, Marcus Osborne, Martin Mathis, Evan Youngworth, Kenneth Nickel, James Watson, Paul. It's going to be interesting to see Broderick Johnson and Jordan Pritchard make their way through the field because they both either pitted or spun. But either way, 35 minutes ahead of us here in Daytona. Glad you can join us on the Automotive Sports Network for the Service Experts eRoval Series as we get ready to go. Remember our series and coverage brought to you by Service Experts Advantage Program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. For more information, serviceexperts.com. Green flag in Daytona Beach. Off the line, Downey got a great jump compared to McCoy. Down to turn number 1. Side-by-side, 4th and 5th. Down to the first corner. Outside, Stephen Thompson on Downey. Wide in turn number 1. Nearly 3 wide, it looked like, with Bob Poplett. He thought better of it. Exiting the first corner. Still side by side. McCoy gets passed by Downey. Downey to the lead, but McCoy's still there. Peeks to the inside. 3 wide in the back. It's Poplett in the middle of Isidro and Thompson through the International Horseshoe. 1 car to the inside. It's Nurnberger sneaking into the picture as well. Downey had a bad exit out of the corner. McCoy looking side by side through the kink. Nurnberger on the outside. Thought better of it. You do not do side-by-side through that corner. Broderick Johnson on the outside, now the inside of Ian Lane. Down to the second hairpin. Side-by-side still. Lane on the outside of Isidro and Johnson. Johnson, one of the quickest cars here. Pritchard stuck behind Dylan Thomas in the 0-0. And onto the oval. For the first time, Riley Downey leads Michael McCoy, Stephen Thompson, Poplett, and Nurnberger the top 5.
Beautiful driving by the entire field. A couple people were sleeping on the start, but other than that 3-wide moment, everyone else was running real nice and clean, gave each other plenty of space. So I think everyone knows that the game is going to be just to save your stuff. As McCoy look to the inside here, but he tucks back in line. As now Thompson's got a big run going into the bus stop. Let's see if anyone makes a mistake here going into the bus stop for the first time on cold tires and cold brakes.
Nürnberger deep on the brakes. Had to almost lock him up in order to not hit Poplet there. One car wide, it's Marcus Osborne in the back of the shot. That's in the 11th spot. Pritchard is now falling down the order. I'm going to take a look off monitor here, because Johnson way up the order, carving through the field. At the end of the first lap, Downey leads. Peeking to the outside is McCoy. 2 wide in the back, it's Thompson. Poplet passes Thompson. I thought McCoy would take that spot going into the first corner. And Broderick Johnson sits in 7th. 7 cars under a blanket as we take a look, as it looks like we're on board with McCoy here in car number 33.
Also, we're going to keep an eye on, just kind of out of the corner of our eyes.
Contact Isidro with Nürnberger, got away with it. But Johnson to the outside, not to cut you off monitor. Those 3 really got close to coming together. Johnson's got to make something happen. He's going to get stuck in traffic. Looks to the inside of Nürnberger in the 32, does the 82. Position change for the moment. He gets it. Sorry, continue.
Oh, good. I think what happened to Pritchard, I think this is a strategy play. He seems to be really taking it easy on like the oval section. I wonder if he's trying to save it so he doesn't have to stop.
That would be insane. I never really thought about not stopping.
If you could stretch it that far.
Because he is way back here.
Yeah.
P16, granted it was the first lap of the race, 2:07. We'll have to take a look and see. But to put it into perspective, the guys that are up front, Downey ran a 1:55. So even on the start. So we'll just have to wait and see what'll happen here. And it's the first race of a championship. You don't know how this car is going to behave. You don't know what's going to happen with your energy consumption. Why not? What could go wrong? You have a drop week.
You don't know how these other drivers are going to race. They may all wreck each other. We don't know, as we have bump drafting.
Johnson, bump drafting Isidro, NASCAR style, down to turn number 1. He's up into 6th, the pole sitter from earlier on. Had that weird issue where he had to pit. On the outside, Nürnberger nearly cut the nose off of car number 32. So let's take a look at the fastest lap so far. 1:46.987 for Riley Downey. To put this into perspective, as I know we're taking a look up front here, Pritchard has not crossed the start-finish line yet. I've got him on my monitor. He's going to cross the line at a 2:03. That's got to be what he's doing. There's no explanation otherwise.
That's my only idea. This way he runs as slow as possible. He may only have to sit in there for a minute instead of 4. Because these guys are all pushing like it's a sprint race.
Johnson to the inside of Isidro. Can't make it happen. Battle for the lead. McCoy versus Downey. We're giving Brian Sawyer a run for his money trying to figure out my ADHD commentary. We talked earlier in the week. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. Isidro, Johnson. Johnson's got the slipstream, exiting oval turn 2. Will he peek to the outside? Isidro goes high. To the inside goes Johnson. Pole man from earlier, pitted for some reason. Position change. Put him to P5. And this deep on the brakes, but he saved it. But now, will Isidro be able to get this slipstream? Here comes Nürnberger again. I am impressed with Zachary Nürnberger's pace. Such a ferocious driver from the sprint race. Never gave up. Even if he had a bumper or a fender on a guy, he was not going to give him the spot.
I think
Isidro, huge run on Johnson.
Let's see if Nürnberger forces it 3 wide into 1, or does he think better of it?
A lot better of it.
I think he's going to see what these two do with each other and then capitalize. As he looks to the... close. Playing nice and respectful here. It is race 1 of the championship season, so don't want to piss off people like Ross Chastain.
Riley Downey. Car number 1, position number 1. In the TikTok Sunshine Autos Porsche, leading Michael McCoy in car number 33. Deep on the brakes is Bob Poplett in the 69. And now it's a 3-car battle for the race, 4-car battle, really, for the race lead.
Just give me a heads up next time, Riley, that you're backing out that early.
Michael McCoy comes over the radio. Give me a heads up next time, Riley, by backing out that early.
As, honestly, the top, 8 are under a blanket here now. Almost.
An update for Jordan Pritchard. 2-minute 1.187 compared to our race leader, 1-minute 47.678. That might win him the race. And if it doesn't, I'll still applaud him. Poplett, huge run. He surged past McCoy down to the bus stop. I'm going to take a look off monitor as I was looking. He went to the inside of McCoy and took the spot. And he is going for the race lead. Exiting the bus stop. Huge run already.
From a guy that backed it into the tire barrier in the sprint race, almost taking the lead now. See if he gets a run off of turn number 4.
Such a wonderful track as the Daytona road course. You wouldn't think that it's interesting by looking at the track map, but the nature of the oval makes it so incredibly fun to drive. As we begin lap number 5, Poplett easy on the brakes, but he changed his mind. Deep on the brakes, nearly locked it up into Riley. Riley Downey in car number 1. 3/10 is the gap. Stephen Thompson and Nicholas Isidro sneaking into this picture. Nürnberger's almost here as well. Ian Lane, so I think you mentioned earlier, almost the top 8 is side by side. McCoy versus Johnson. Johnson gets 3rd. He's got to run on Poplett here in the 69.
As I think Riley's backing everyone up. You're in a 150 flat, so I think he's taking it easy here as he breaks way early into the corner. I think they're realizing that they're pushing too hard.
Poplett to the lead.
And they're using their energy up a little bit too much.
As this, you can't predict anything that's about to happen because everyone is everywhere. Poplett, Downey, Johnson, McCoy, Thompson, Isidro, Nürnberger, Lane, and Paul Krohn, who fell out of the server right at the end of the sprint race in P9.
And he's rallying to catch up to this lead pack, so we could have 9 cars under a blanket here in a couple laps.
Pritchard has sped up just a pinch. He's at a 2-minute lap time. I think he's realized maybe this is not a good idea. We take a look at Kenneth Nickel battling Evan Youngworth. This is for P13, side by side on the oval, as we're still single file for the top 8, but realistically everybody else. As Youngworth in the 64. From Wisconsin, actually. So he says he's a chronically, pitifully average sim racer, and he doesn't even know what his team name is. So it translates to Steel Hurricane. I changed it on the spreadsheet. But he is teammates with Martin Mathis in car number 14.
As I think that's our motto here in Wisconsin for sim racers.
Downey to the race lead once again as we look up front. As it changes so quickly, we can't even keep track. It's Poplett in the 69. Now out of the race lead. They're still running 1-minute 48 lap times. Everyone really is.
Yeah, this whole pack ran a 148.
It's Downey, Poplett, Johnson. I could not imagine being in this Hornets Nets right now, especially with Krohn sneaking into the picture, making it 9 cars, half the field, in a battle for the race lead. But then it's going to be a matter of when are you going to pit? As we just crossed 11 minutes.
Ooh, as Marcus Osborne spins it around. As he was right on the tail of James Watson, who just broke into the top 10. So.
And Osborne around for the 12th spot in car number 7. I would almost be worried if I'm Pritchard if I'm going to go a lap down. Granted, you still have a 4-minute pit time. But if we look, he's a minute behind the race leaders.
Which is 2 laps, so 4 minutes at this pace is just roughly around 2 laps. So if he only goes a lap down, he'll have a lap on the field.
Poplett got a slowdown in the bus stop, way slow. Oh yeah, he did. Exiting the bus stop, that final phase, way off the track. He had to give up a lot of positions. I thought he was just giving up the second or the lead or the second spot. No, he is way back.
P7, P8, roughly.
Got passed by Nürnberger. He's going to be back in 8th or 7th at least.
7th is P8's Ian Lane right at his back bumper.
Krone has gotten to the top 8, so now it is a 9-car race for the lead.
Although Krone's been busting out 47s this whole time, so he's using up a lot of power.
Everybody's starting to go off pace. 49s, one car with a 1:51. It was Poplet. Granted, that was a slowdown. Nürnberger ran a 1:48. Krone a 1:47. James Watson a 1:50.
Thomas around again.
Dylan Thomas spins in the 0-0 in turn 1. Pritchard, 1:59 in car number 9. But he is entering turn 3, and Downey is exiting the road course in the infield.
As Marcus Osborne is done for the evening. So that's our first casualty of the night.
As Osborne in car number 7. Oh, he has got a lot of damage. I'm taking a look off monitor here. He was in 12th, through the bus stop, really wide in the first part of it. Sideways, wall, exiting the bus stop. And our first accident, single car, but that takes him out of the equation. Downey still leads over Johnson, who's in 2nd now. McCoy, Thompson, Isidro, the top 5.
As everyone's kind of calmed down right now. It's kind of the calm before the storm. As we are in the pit window right now, so we can see anyone just pull off.
Downey pits from P1, so we'll have to wait and see how long he's going to be in the pit lane. And that's the problem of being the race leader in a brand new series with a brand new car. You're the guinea pig. You have to figure it out, and then everybody else will react to you. So he pits in car number 1. Looks like getting tires too, but it's going to be a pretty long charge.
I'll say you might as well throw tires on it if you're waiting here for 4 minutes.
Grab your phone, go on some TikTok. I don't do it, but theoretically you could. Let's get a race update here. Now leading is Broderick Johnson, who, if you're just joining our coverage, welcome to the Automotive Sports Network for the Service Experts eRoval series. Broderick Johnson was on pole position, pitted for some reason. Still can't figure that out. Hopefully we'll get some in the interview later on. But he pitted, fell to 10th, and now is leading. And now we begin the pit stop phase to really see what's going to go on here. As according to the graphics, it's lap count, but normally it's a timed race. So hopefully we can get the time back up on the monitor there. But now, Cody, look at the disparity between all these guys. They're not under a blanket anymore.
No. Broderick and Michael, them two have kind of checked out from everyone else. And then Nicholas and Steven, they're kind of another tandem. And then there's a 4-car pack of Nürnberger, Poplet, Lane, and Krone. Them 4 have kind of tucked in line. I wonder if them 4 are trying to use the draft and help each other save some energy.
So Downey will go a lap down as they cross the start-finish line. So that's at least a 2-minute wait for Downey to charge his car. But again, it's not a worry. Like we mentioned in the opener, if you had missed that opening coverage, you have to charge these cars. They're fully electric, and it's at least a 4-minute wait for the charge. So we're going to keep an eye on Downey. Downey should exit the pit lane. He'll be 2 laps down, but then it's tricky. It's going to be tricky on the pit rotation, because traditionally, for example, like F1, granted your pit stops are 2 seconds, but you have your in and your out lap. You have to make up 2 laps, and while they're pitting while your competition are pitting, you'll make that up, but you don't want to burn your power. That's my concern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have Pritchard right now. He's still running his 2-minute flat lap time, so about 10 seconds slower than the field. And he's really sticking to it. I give him credit for he's got this strategy, and he's going to go until the very end. So let's see if it works.
Off monitor, Martin Mathis in car number 14 has crashed. He was in the bus stop and lost it on entry, and into the tire barrier goes car number 14. We've got 2 retirements, it looks like, from this race this evening. Broderick Johnson exits the bus stop, and Pritchard is going to cross as we just take a look there on monitor. Thank you, Brian Sawyer, for that replay. As Pritchard crosses the start-finish line now, and Sawyer just enters turn 4. Downey still pits, so it's at least longer than 4 minutes for Downey. And that had to have been because of these guys pushing so hard at the beginning of the race, because Downey still has not been released. Exiting the pit lane is Downey. So right as I go to talk about him not having a 4-minute hold, he has exited the pit lane. So now we'll wait and see if he can take the fight to the race leaders and get back onto winning pace. But this is terrifying for him. He is in the hornet's nest of traffic, Cody. This is not working out for him.
Now, I noticed too, a lot of guys are starting to get a little bit on the free side. I watched our leaders, and I believe it was both cars are blue and white. I think it was Broderick, got sideways into turn 1 and had to kind of gather it back up. So I think the tires are starting to wear out, getting a little greasy here in Daytona.
I'd be so upset if I had pitted from the lead and now I'm behind the whole pack that I was holding up because, again, tried not to do a NASA Rallycross reference, but you've taken your joker. And now you're behind the cars that have not taken your joker, and it's a longer lap for them. And now you're stuck. You're faster. You can't get around them because it's so hard to pass like we've seen, especially with the banking, with the slipstream. Johnson leads McCoy, leads Isidro, Thompson, Nurnberger, Poplet, Lane, and Crone, the top 8. Riley Downey in car number 1 was leading. He's P16 on the road, P9 in this train. Just waiting to see if anybody will pit. Pritchard has not pitted yet, still running 2-minute lap times. Put it in perspective, he is coasting at 130 miles an hour. These guys are at $170. He will go a lap down and be 2 minutes behind the race lead. Who pits? Poplet pits. Lane pits. We had a couple cars pitting as well. Dylan Thomas, Jeff Destino. Martin Mathis had some car issues there. So Crone pits as well. So we'll begin the rotation here, Cody, and seeing where the strategy will unravel.
There's another thing, too, with pitting early, you got to make sure you don't, start pushing and start racing the guys in front of you, because that's just going to throw your strategy all out the window. As we have... Oh, my screen went black on me here. Nurnberger's got pressure from Downey. So, now, if you're in Nurnberger's case, do you let him go?
Woo! Really early on the brakes. I wouldn't. You're racing, who knows, for 5th, for the lead. I wouldn't.
But now if you let him go, you can just sit in his slipstream and save energy and let him burn his stuff up. It's one of the... This is chess. This is chess at 170 miles an hour, or if you're Pritchard at 130. So we're going to see who plays it the best.
As Poplet, Lane, Destino, Thomas, Mathis, Youngworth in the pit lane as well, Crone in the pit lane. As we'll take a look, as it looks like Downey got by Nurnberger in car number 32. But Thompson gets by Pritchard. Pritchard, one of the fastest cars here, trying a different strategy. He was stuck in the mid-pack after spinning from the race lead anyways. Johnson and McCoy do not pit. Still no update on pit lane from any of those guys. Who pits? Will there be anybody else? No. Begin lap 12, just under 15 minutes. These guys are really pushing it for this pit strategy here. Pitting as Watson in car number 39.
As I've heard before too, you can't beat him if you follow him. So that's I think that's the idea of Pritchard. The only way you're going to beat him is if you try something different.
Now, this is an interesting bit that we kind of glossed over. Downey is messing up everybody's race here because he's technically off the lead lap because he pitted, but Thompson just got passed by Isidro because Downey got through on both of them. So that's also another thing.
We also have to remember, too, that right now, Downey's got fresher tires. So he's going to be able to make up a lot of time, even if he's not even pushing. Because just with
Watson,
more grip.
Nickel, Youngworth, nobody different on the pit lane. Martin Mathis actually didn't retire. He exits the pit lane. He's in 16th place, so we only have one retirement. I just want to say, we're only halfway through this race, but this is absolutely fascinating, and very thankful that ASN could be here. This is such a wonderful concept of a series.
As Destino just is leaving the pit lane right now.
And I think we're looking at
So
Stephen
is
Thompson.
Moore. Moore's just rolling out right now as well. Or Thompson. Sorry, Thompson.
Isidro Thompson. Exiting the pit lane, Dylan Thomas, Jeff Destino, like you had mentioned. So they are near the back of the field. Who will pit here? Broderick Johnson, Michael McCoy. We're going to focus on them once again. We're looking, and it looks like that was Pritchard in the 9. The race leaders have not pitted. Nor will these guys, 3rd, 4th, 5th. They're not pitting either.
And
You have to be getting down on battery power. Evan Youngworth leaves the pit lane.
also, yes, guys are starting to leave the pit lane. But with Moore, or Thomas and Destino, they're only a lap down. Not like Riley where they're 2. Oh, actually, no. It took a bit for the timing scoring to catch up. So they are now behind Downey, which actually they're a lap behind Downey. Almost.
Mathis is 3 laps down. Thomas, Destino, Downey, all 2 laps down. So we'll just have to wait for it to update. Nickel and Watson still in the pit lane. Poplet has exited the pit lane. Remember, Poplet's super fast in the opening stanza of this race. Ian Lane exits the pit lane as well. I'm just waiting for these race leaders to pit and see truly what's going to happen. As the top 5 technically on the same lap, within 10 seconds of each other. Johnson, McCoy, Downey.
This is like the best definition of motorsports chess, because what moves are you going to make when? And
They're
we're starting
so
to see-
so slow through the bus stop compared to what they were in the sprint race. 1 minute 48. If I'm looking at Johnson's lap times, yeah, practice they were at 138, qualifying 138. One car through the grass. It's Ian Lane from 10th. Looks like they might be pitting. No. Their lap times are consistent, though. 1 minute 47, 48, 49. Downey's pit lap was a 5 minute 27.008.
As
So that'll
we're
give
hitting
us
lap 14 right now, so this is kind of the end of the window is what is expected at least.
The only thing that I'm thinking of is these guys, they know there's a drop week, and they're just going to say, screw it. I'm going to run as far as I can, as fast as I can, and see what happens. These guys have the speed for that.
As
Their other
Nürnberg,
competitor, as Nürnberger in the pit lane, Nickel, Watson, Pritchard's running a completely different strategy to these guys, trying to make it on no pit stop.
as Pritchard now has jumped up to the top of everyone that's a lap down or 2 laps down, because he's
That is
only one.
crucial.
He is the first one lap down. He's past Watson, Nickel, and Downey is 2. So Downey has to unlap himself from Pritchard.
But we don't know. We still don't know, though, if Pritchard's going to have to pit.
We have no idea. And we have no idea how long the guys up front are going to have to pit, because we're on lap 14. This is
And they
roughly
are
when
still
you're-
flying. They
Yeah.
are not pitting. They are not letting up. Viewers joining us here on the Automotive Sports Network, welcome to the Service Experts eRoval series. As you're looking at that timing tower and you're like, what? There's only 5 cars on the lead lap? Yeah, these cars are fully electric. There's a 4-minute pit stop. It's chess in motorsports form. Off monitor, Destino nearly ran into Watson entering the hairpin there as Watson exits the pit lane. He is in 7th. Now we get pit stops. Johnson and McCoy to the pit lane. Top 2 pit. Who does not pit? Isidro pits. Thompson pits. Top 4 are pitting. So now we're going to take a look. Riley Downey's got clear track. He sits in 7th. Will Pritchard sneak into the race lead? Going 130 miles an hour at the worst.
Yeah, he might, because he's about to unlap himself here. So he'll be on the lead lap. And we have roughly I'd say 10 minutes left here because we're about 9 left to the end, and then with
Just
the white
clicked
flag.
minute 27 elapsed time.
Yep. And I'd imagine, depending on how we hit the white flag, we could have it go a little bit over. So let's see how much time these guys are going to need to put electricity back in their cars.
Nickel exits the pit lane from P13. Pritchard in 6th. He's on the lead lap. He's now in 5th. He's on the lead lap in car number 9.
This is going to be a genius move if it works for him. I would not be surprised if we see more people do it next week.
I'll be honest, I said 4-minute pit stop. What's going to happen? Well, I'll tell you. It's going to be strategy filled. Pritchard's going to let him by. He sits in 5th. He is on the lead lap, and his competitors are in the pit lane. But the problem is, he might actually get to lap these guys, and if he stays at that same pace, I feel like it might be a photo finish at the end here.
One way we're going to find out. That's the only thing I can tell you right now. I'm kind of lost for words. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Thomas in 14th. Let's try and get a running order update or a pitting order update. As top 4 sit in the pit lane. Pritchard in car number 9 on the lead lap. Really flying. And this is the only way that he's going to win this race is if he commits to not pitting. And you have to commit to not pitting this late in the going because Downey is a minute behind him. And if we look, Downey is hauling to catch Pritchard. He has to run that pace the entire race, which will be incredible discipline to get that right at a 2-minute lap time.
As he's now about to take the lead here.
This is incredible.
Through the trioval.
My dad always said growing up, slower is faster. And I thought to myself, Dad, what the hell are you talking about? Jordan Pritchard has taken the race lead without pitting, going 130 miles an hour. Dad, slower is faster, and I finally got it. This is an incredible race, and we still have 5 minutes left.
That's the thing, too. I don't think Downey's got enough time to catch Pritchard if he doesn't pit. He's going to need roughly, 10 laps?
If we look at the lap times, so we know that Downey's running 1 minute 48. And where is Pritchard on my feed? He's running 2 minutes. Let's look at the gap. Thompson leaves the pit lane. Thompson will leave the... Thompson... No, he was ahead of McCoy. I apologize there. So he was ahead of McCoy. So now, the gap is 38 seconds. It's going to be a 10-second a lap difference with 5 minutes left to go. This is going to be a nail-biter.
Oh, as McCoy... Wait, no.
Roderick Johnson exits the pit lane. McCoy,
still
not
sitting
out of
there.
the pit lane. So, I was wrong. I thought that Thompson was leading. Johnson was leading. So, Johnson got pipped in the pit lane by Thompson.
And he's way ahead. He's pretty much the whole infield ahead. As now, so Downey is in between the two.
So, Zach Nurnberger in P10 right now. And we should see some unraveling here. Or maybe Pritchard's going to surprise us all and have maybe a lap or so of pace in the battery. He's got a huge gap to Stephen Thompson, who currently is second on the road. Gap is coming down. 32 seconds, 31 seconds.
As he's running 133 miles an hour through the trioval.
The discipline to run 133 miles an hour the entire time. This is incredible.
Yeah, it looks like Thompson will pick up P2 right now. And then Downey should be P3.
So Downey cycled back. Let's look at lap times. When Downey pitted, 1 minute 48 to where is Johnson? 1 minute 56. Or Johnson hasn't crossed the line yet, so my timing is outdated. I apologize there. So Thompson sits in second now. 5 minutes and 3 seconds. So we can't even see what'll happen until it updates. So let's see. Where is our race leader? Exiting the infield, Jordan Pritchard in car number 9. Still a 2-minute lap time. Gap is 27.5 seconds. It is coming down. We know that it's coming down. And we're getting to 2 laps to go. So Marcus Osborne has finally disconnected from the session after crashing in car number 7 earlier on. Stephen Thompson, 26 seconds down the road.
I don't think he's going to have enough time. Oh, 27. It's going to be close. Also depends on how much power Pritchard has.
We'll have to wait and see, of course, when the lap times unravel for Thompson. He has not completed a lap yet on this second stint. The lap time is counted as 5 minutes. That included his pit stop lap. If we look at his 10 seconds, and Pritchard's just going to get blown by James Watson and by Jeff Destino. It's going to be 2 laps to go here in Daytona Beach. At least 2 laps, maybe even the white flag. We'll just have to wait and see. With the pace of Jordan Pritchard, who knows what'll happen.
It's a 1:59.3. I wonder if Jordan calculated what it would take to finish the race, and he has a number he's going off of each lap to use.
Thompson,
that's
haul in the mail right now.
That's some genius stuff. If he figured out just whatever it would take and just went by that, knowing how long these pit stops will take.
And if I try and find him on the internal feed, he's not even pushing in the infield. So if you take a look through the kink, he was 115 miles an hour. He's slow exiting the corners. So it's not even like he's trying to harvest battery on the oval. He is everywhere slow. Thompson entering the kink now. It's under 19 seconds.
As we're coming close, I'd imagine we're getting the white this time because we're at 34 minutes. Oh, no. That's the elapsed time for the thing. So I think we got 2 minutes left?
One car around. It's Thompson from second.
I think he was pushing too hard. That might open the door for Pritchard.
I'm at a loss for words. I'm trying to find words that aren't repeating, but I feel like I'm doing the same thing. We should get the white flag here, hopefully. I don't have any indication on if we're getting the white flag. And I can't remember if iRacing makes you take the white flag when you run out of time. But we'll just, we'll wait and see. Hopefully we don't blow this finish call. But I think we're going to be coming to the white flag here in Daytona Beach. It is a 20-second lead for Jordan Pritchard in car number 9. We crossed the start-finish line.
There's no white. So we have, I think this should be 2 to go.
Final lap in Daytona.
I did not see the, okay. I was looking at the flag man. I didn't see the white flag waving.
I didn't see it either, but we are all learning together here on ASN.
Oh, yep. He's waving it now.
Jordan Pritchard leading. Unbelievably, has not stopped.
I'm sorry, dude, but I'm not going to have enough battery to make it.
And he picked up his pace. He ran a 58.9 that last time. I think
some of these guys are going to be out of battery power. Riley Downey, who we thought was super on the pace. Isidro complaining no battery, I believe. I heard Bob Poplick complaining of no battery. One car around, it's Jeff Destino. One car on the outside, it's Paul Crone. He must have miscalculated either. You've got everybody who pushed and pushed and pushed and pitted miscalculate.
And the guy that didn't, well, he isn't to the line yet, so we don't know.
Final time down the super stretch at Daytona through the bus stop. It's a 16-second gap from Pritchard to Thompson. And you had to do something different in order to make up the time. Pritchard was racing for the lead in the sprint race, spun from the lead, and got down to 10th spot for the feature grid. We were wondering, what are you doing when he fell from 10th down to 16th? And now, My brain cannot fathom what we are about to watch. But at 133 miles an hour, Jordan Pritchard has out-strategized everybody. He's out of power, and he wins in Daytona Beach.
He perfectly calculated it.
That is incredible.
Thomas will end up still getting P2 here.
Thomas out of power at the start-finish line. Broderick Johnson will come home in third. He's out of power as well. Everybody's cars are dying before they get out of turn 4. Please. Ian Lane looks like he'll come home for 4th. We got a battle for 5th. What we expected. Zachary Nurnberger and Michael McCoy coming home for the 5th spot. Side by side, Nurnberger out of power. 5th will go to McCoy. 6th to Nurnberger.
That was a good race, man.
Youngworth he ran out completely. Now he's in pit lane, so he's going to lose everything.
Poplett is trying to get Downey to the start-finish line.
Isidro 7th.
Well,
and Chase Elliott and Jimmy Johnson, what was it, 2018 Watkins Glen? That is what's happening in turns 3 and 4.
Crone's running 33 miles an hour coming out of turn 4 right now.
I didn't think that was possible.
Going through a school zone.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, he's losing
I'm kind
time.
of surprised as well.
Oh, wow.
This is going to be a drag race here.
He's going to lose 11th. Poplett left Downey. Wow.
I think Poplett's actually going to gain a couple spots here.
Poplett to P8.
P8, yeah.
Crone stops short of the start-finish line, and Steven Thompson, I don't know if he's angry, he says, WTF Jordan, question mark, question mark, question mark, the no stop. I don't feel as bad now.
Watson P9, top 10 for our NASA boy.
That is incredible. Jordan Pritchard, our race winner here in Daytona Beach with no pit stop. Steven Thompson comes home in second, 20 seconds down. What could have been, I don't think he lost all that much time on the spin, but what could have been, Broderick Johnson comes home in third. Ian Lane 4th, Michael McCoy 5th, Zach Nurnberger, Nicholas Isidro, Bob Poplett, James Watson, NASA Boy comes home in 9th, Riley Downey comes home in 10th. 11th, Evan Youngworth, 12th, Paul Crone, Jeff Destino, Dylan Thomas, 13th, 14th, 15th, Kenneth Nichols, 16th, Martin Mathis, 17th. One retirement, it's Marcus Osborne after crashing in the bus stop. We're going to try and bring in our top 3. And we're going to have a conversation. First off, we're going to bring in Broderick Johnson. You can have this chat with him.
Forever.
Our third place man, Broderick Johnson, Cody Erdmann, he's all yours.
Hey there, Broderick. Congrats on the P3 for first race of the season.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a blast. It made it interesting for sure with the charging strategy there, or for our winner tonight, the lack of. But hey, I'm happy with that considering I blew the sprint race and started P9.
What, not to take over your interview, what happened in the sprint race?
Yeah, so I just got a little trigger happy there. Felt like I was going to be on time with the green, and I mean, it was just, a millisecond before.
Oh,
and,
you got a penalty.
Yeah. So I got
okay.
I got a little too trigger happy on the start there and had to come serve a black flag because of it.
We were sitting up here wondering what is going on. We thought maybe you were still in the qualifying power mode or whatever. Sorry, Cody, continue.
Oh, good. Actually, I don't think a penalty came across my mind because honestly, I can't remember the last time I've ran a standing start race. So.
Yeah, just a little too trigger happy, but I'm happy with P3 considering I started 9th because of it. So,
yeah, you had a really good rally there, driving through the field. Was it your plan to try to run up through the field and run with McCoy, or were you kind of just playing it one lap at a time?
No, I think that at the start there, I told myself try not to get a little bit too aggressive here. Let's just stay behind the draft and try to save as much fuel, but it's just so tempting. Everyone's trying to save and everyone's lifting, and you can get some good runs on people into the corner, and So it's a little too tempting, and I gave in probably more than I should have. If I would have saved a little more there, I might have been able to cut some time off my pit stop. But yeah, just too aggressive up front.
Seeing what Pritchard did this week with no stop, which at first we were at a loss for words, but seeing it actually work, is that a possibility for you next week? Or I know it's kind of throwing your cards out on the table already, but or would you consider it for next week if it's possible?
So based off of what I've seen at New Hampshire, I'm not sure that it will be possible. It's a smaller track, and I think that you're going to be using more than you would think. But I don't know. I think that the strategy is going to remain the same. Just save as much as you can. Find every single spot that's not going to kill too much time, and you're going to end up where you end up. But we'll see what the league decides moving forward on how we're going to address pit strategies, and just you have to make adjustments from that, because I know that nobody else was expecting it to work for the 9 car like it did tonight. So we just got to take it one day at a time.
Sounds good. Lastly, anyone you'd like to thank for your P3 podium position?
Yeah, I'll thank Service Experts and Zeus Solar for everything that they contribute, and just glad everyone stopped by. Thanks to all the competitors that have joined the league and are giving it a chance for this first season. It's going to be a blast. It's already showing some interesting concepts here in the first race alone. So can't thank everyone enough for just being a part of it, and happy to see where it's going to go moving forward. And thank you guys, man, for being a part of it too. It's exciting.
Absolutely. We had a wonderful time up here. As congrats on your P3. We will see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
One more for you, Cody. We're going to bring in our second place man, Steven Thompson. Steven Thompson, Josh Mertz, Cody Erdmann up in the commentary box. You got us?
Yes, I got you.
Cody, all yours.
Hey there, Steven. Were you thinking you'd be able to get to Pritchard there? We saw you kind of self-spin it there. It seems like you were trying to push it, try to catch him. Did you think you had a chance, or was that strategy that he pulled completely out of thin air just a little bit too much?
Yeah, no, it was untouchable. I'm usually one that loves to do a fuel saving strat. I just didn't think it was possible. I also think he had the advantage of starting in the back of the field and doing it. I was a little peer pressured starting in the top 5. That top 5 really was playing games early on, so a lot of people were swapping draft, lifting big. Luckily, we kept it pretty clean. But no, it was you apparently get a free tire stop with these, so I took them anyways. I don't think it mattered that much if actually it hurt, but I think by the end of it, everyone was so tight on pushing it to the line that they didn't really want to spend extra time in the pits for the charge, so everyone was just trying to fuel save until they hit that 3-lap number. But no, I was amazed by Jordan. Like, I was like 3-4 laps of fuel. I didn't think you could save that, but he said it got pretty boring because of how slow you had to go.
Yeah, as you were... where did you end up? So you started up front too as well, so like you said, kind of almost everyone seemed to peer pressure each other, because I think we had the top 9 under a blanket there. How was that racing this first race? Kind of learning, everyone kind of learning each other racing, and also the car itself with this being a new car.
Yeah, they're actually pretty grippy, and because of like the off throttle understeer and I guess the passive charging, they get a little tight when you go through the horseshoes, which actually helps you so you don't really slip off your line. You could brake in pretty deep and then just cut back. That was the key to breaking the draft if you wanted to get it before you got to turn 7 on the super speedway. But yeah, I think it kind of felt like a DRS chain where everyone wanted to do the same thing, but no one would be out in front. I think that's what bit Nicolas, and I think there's a couple other line leaders there that had to take a little bit more charge. And then obviously if you were in the tow, you were going to be saving a lot more. I think I had like a kilowatt and a half more than my teammate Zach. And he ended up fighting Michael because of the charge time, and he had to undercut me. But it was fun. I think everyone kept to their lines and kept it really clean, and it was a great first race for some of the new faces. And I don't think I know I've raced against Michael and James before, but there's still some new names out here.
Yeah, speaking of team, anyone you'd like to thank that helped you get to the second step of the podium?
I don't know if Zach was throwing some blocks on Michael or not, but they were fighting back and forth, and I know there was a lot of charge battling going on, so I tried to stay in the middle. I think I got a little bit of a gap, but no, I think Marcus, Zach, and I were all kind of split up, and we didn't really get to work together in the draft, but yeah, still a good turnout for everyone in the first week.
Sounds good. Well, We'll happily see you in New Hampshire. Yeah, New Hampshire. We're going for next week.
Yep, sounds good, guys.
Jordan Pritchard, there are many things that I want to ask you right now, but the main thing is I want to ask if you can hear us.
Yes, sir.
So, before we even get to what transpired in the feature, you were battling for the lead in the sprint race and you spin. First off, how was the car in traffic, and what was the thought process in that moment?
Well, I didn't realize that Broderick had jumped the start. I actually thought he hit that green light perfectly. So I was just along following him, and yeah, the car. I don't know. It's very in low speeds. I don't understand it very well. So following him along, I was just trying to stick with him and see what he would do. And then he pulled into the pits, which threw me for a big loop. And now I'm leading. So I don't know what exactly happened going in, and I went to turn and the back end just came out and I spun. It's in traffic. I would actually consider it better for some reason. Like, it just feels like the front end is just looser. So it doesn't have the push understeer when you're following it. I don't know. When I'm by myself, I just tend to oversteer and then overcorrect and turn too much and spin.
So that brings us to my next question. So, because of the spin, you were put back in traffic and you started the feature race mid-pack. Was that strategy that, first of all, blew our minds? Like, I still don't have any words to describe it, but was that strategy a spur of the moment? Or Cody was talking about it seemed very calculated when you crossed the line and ran out of energy. So you don't have to put all your cards on the table, but just talk me through, like, you spun and you're like, okay, this is what I'm doing, or was that planned?
Well, I did a little bit of testing. I wanted to see how long it took to do a pit stop. That was mainly my, what would determine for me what I did was how long. And in testing, I did like a 6 or 7 minute pit stop, and I just thought that can't be right. That can't be the pit stop or the strategy. So I did a little quick math and figured out what number I'd have to hit kilowatt per lap, and it was just over 4, which is like, if you coast into every braking zone, maximize your momentum, and then really stomp on the brakes to get as much regen as possible, you can just get about like 4.3 kilowatts a lap. And so I thought, man, it's going to be really close, and it's going to really come down to when the white flag gets thrown. Was my whole thing, and coming to it, I even asked somebody, I was like, when exactly is it determined when the white flag gets thrown? And they said if you're under the 2 minutes or under the time it takes to do a lap, it'll throw it. And so I was like, okay, I was pretty sure I was on there. My only caveat was I didn't know how many other people would do this strategy or if they would just take off, and so I was waiting to see what everyone would do. But starting 10th gave me a lot bigger leeway in terms of what I wanted to do. I was able to see what the front pack did instead of trying to lead it, and I saw them all take off, and I thought, okay, so they're going to have to pit stop if they're driving like that, and nobody else stayed behind me. I was lap 2 or 3 and I was in last place, so I just thought, you know what, let's just stick with it and see what happened.
How, first of all, as I'm looking in the Discord, the Jordan Pritchard Ultimate Chad Power Move is being reviewed for further rule changes, so you might have been found out there. How disciplined do you have to be in a car like this? And forgive me if you might have answered this in the last question, but how disciplined do you have to be in energy consumption? I mean, how hard is it to just not foot to the floor, push like hell?
It's really difficult because the car, and I actually learned this during the race, what I was doing wrong, because in practice my numbers were all over the place, right? Like I couldn't get a consistent kilowatt per lap, and I was just like, well, we're gonna have to do the best we can. But I realized you can accelerate, almost full throttle out of a corner and then slowly just back off till about 50% to keep the momentum up. And if you come off quicker than that, the regen seems to just slow the car down, just slams it, like stops it. So trying to get a lap number while conserving I was finding it really difficult at the beginning. But then once I realized, slowly roll off and it'll keep that momentum up and it will keep gaining lap time, I was able to easily get under 2 minutes, which was a surprise for me. So at that point, it was just about, hitting the 2 minute, like as close as possible to 2 minutes per lap and be roughly around 4 kilowatts. But if they change the rules, I can't blame them.
As either way, it was an incredible showing. Cody, you got anything for our race winner?
No, you pretty much hit all the kind of points that we were talking about through the whole race there. That was my guess, and as Jordan, you answered it for me. I was guessing right when we got to about the middle of the race that it seemed your lap time seemed pretty equal. So I was guessing you had a number that you figured out that you could hit every lap, and like you said, 4.3 was the magic number.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and also I was thinking if they pushed, if they were doing 1:45, how many laps until they overtake me, and then how many laps will I get back when they pit? So it was all just really about the math, more strategy than anything.
As the last thing I got for you, do you have anyone or anything you'd like to thank for your incredible strategy and your result tonight?
Nah, this is honestly my first league, so I'd like to thank Dylan for setting everything up and you guys for broadcasting. It's been enjoyable. I'll be honest, I was watching the broadcast while I was driving, so I was seeing what was going on up at the front, just keeping it interesting because it was quite honestly boring where I was. But yeah, other than that, that's it.
As well, great strategy. Blew us all away in the commentary box. We were trying to figure it out. And you will bring in the yellow championship leader number plate going into New Hampshire. But great win, and we will see you next week.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Wow. Cody, final thoughts before we wrap this up.
Apparently you need to know how to do calculus while driving a race car.
Well, first of all, he's watching our broadcast while he's driving. I thought distracted driving was illegal. Okay.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Like that was a lot. Like he's figuring out, trying to figure out his number to hit. Like usually you have a race strategist to do that for you, not like you have to do it yourself. Like I hate having to unclick my tires when I'm racing, let alone trying to do math. Like I give that man full credit on that part. I think it's gonna be interesting. One, we're gonna have to wait and see what the Chair Canals Ryan Pritchard's going to be rule. I'm creating a rule here right off the bat. It should be interesting. Other than that, I was thinking that New Hampshire is going to be kind of short track-esque for the series. It is kind of a slower, a lot more hard-braking zone. So that should be an interesting race. We're going to have a total opposite from what we have here in Daytona, with Daytona being pretty much wide open. So I think we may have more strategy there. Other than that, this was extremely entertaining. It's very much a big, like I said, it's more sports chess. So you got to figure out what your strategy is, make sure you hit it perfectly. As we saw, almost half the field run out of power coming to the checkered flag. So you got to make sure you don't do that, or you do it at the right time. So week 1's in the books, and I'm really entertained to see how this series goes from week 1 to week 10.
As remember our coverage and our series today, brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage Program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. For more information, visit serviceexperts.com. So, Jordan Pritchard was race driver and race engineer all at once, and an incredible no-stop strategy will put him to the top of the points as we get ready to go to New Hampshire. A couple programming notes on the Automotive Sports Network. Tomorrow, the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge will be right here at the Daytona International Speedway. You'll join myself and Philip Kraus for all of that coverage. Lights to flag on the Automotive Sports Network. Join us at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And then next Sunday, we are going to be at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire for round 2 of the Service Experts eRoval series. What an incredible series that this is, and what I'm excited to see for the coming weeks. from all of us at the Automotive Sports Network, Bryan Sawyer down in the production truck, Cody Erdmann next to me in the commentary box. I am Josh Mertz. We hope to see you either tomorrow or next week for some more Rallycross or Porsche e-racing. But either way, we will see you then. Until then, so long, everyone.